On October 29, 2018, a brand new airplane took off from Jakarta. 12 minutes later, it was at the bottom of the sea. 189 people were on board. There were no survivors. The plane was a Boeing 737 MAX, the newest, most advanced version of the most successful airliner ever built. It had been in service for 3 months. The investigators would find no engine failure, no storm, no pilot error in the way you'd expect. What they found instead was a single line of logic, a piece of software most of the pilots flying the plane didn't even know existed. And the most disturbing part? Boeing's own engineers had warned about it. For most of the last century, Boeing didn't just build airplanes, it built the planes that defined air travel. The 747, the 737, a workhorse so reliable that at one point one was taking off somewhere in the world every few seconds. Boeing was an engineering company, engineers ran it, and the culture had a saying, the answer comes from the data, not the boardroom. Then, in 2010, everything changed. Boeing's great rival, Airbus, announced a new aircraft, the A320neo. New engines, far better fuel economy, and airlines lined up to buy it. Within months, Airbus had racked up a wall of orders. Boeing was caught flat-footed. Its leadership faced a choice. They could design a brand new aircraft from scratch, the right engineering answer, but one that would take years and cost tens of billions. Or they could do something faster, cheaper. They could take the 737, a design from the 1960s, and bolt the future onto it. They chose fast. Here was the problem. The new, fuel-saving engines were bigger, much bigger, and the 737 sits very low to the ground. It always had. There simply wasn't room to mount those huge engines where the old ones went. So Boeing's engineers moved them, higher, and further forward on the wing. It solved the clearance problem, but it created a new one. In certain conditions, the new engine position made the plane's nose want to pitch up, on its own. And a nose that pitches up too far can lead to a stall, the most dangerous thing an aircraft can do. Now, Boeing could have fixed this in the hardware, but that would mean the MAX no longer flew like the old 737. And that was the one thing Boeing could not allow, because Boeing had made airlines a promise that was central to every sale. This plane flies just like the one you already have. Your pilots won't need expensive new training. That promise was worth billions in orders. So instead of changing the plane, they hid the problem behind software. They called it MCAS, a system with one job. When it sensed the nose lifting too high, it would automatically push the nose back down, quietly, without the pilots commanding it. And here is the decision that killed 346 people. MCAS made its decision based on a sensor on the outside of the plane, a small vane that measures the angle of the nose. The plane had 2 of them, but MCAS, as designed, listened to only one. No backup, no cross-check. If that single sensor was wrong, by a bird strike, a fault, a bad repair, MCAS would believe the plane was about to stall, when it was flying perfectly level, and it would push the nose toward the ground, again, and again, and again. There was one more thing. To protect the promise, no new training, Boeing left MCAS almost entirely out of the pilot manuals. The men and women flying the plane did not know the system was there, so when it activated and the nose dropped, they had no idea what they were fighting. Lion Air Flight 610 was the first. A faulty sensor, a system the crew didn't understand, a nose that would not stop dropping. 189 lives. Boeing's response, in the weeks that followed, was to point toward the airline, toward maintenance, toward the pilots. The fleet kept flying. Then, on March 10, 2019, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 took off from Addis Ababa. Same aircraft, same system, same failure. 6 minutes later, it was gone. 157 more people. 346 dead, across 2 flights, from the same hidden cause. This time, the world did not wait for Boeing. Within days, country after country grounded the 737 MAX. Then the United States. The entire global fleet, frozen. It stayed grounded for 20 months, the longest grounding of an American airliner in history. The cost to Boeing climbed past $20 billion. Halted production, cancelled orders, compensation to families and airlines, a criminal settlement with the US government. And the thing Boeing had spent decades building, the trust that its name meant safe, was the one thing the money could not buy back. When investigators opened Boeing's internal messages, they found employees who had seen it coming. People inside the company who'd raised concerns about MCAS, about the single sensor, about the pressure to keep costs down and schedules tight. The warnings were there. They were not enough to stop it. The 737 MAX wasn't brought down by a freak accident. It was brought down by a series of reasonable-sounding decisions, each one made to save time, or money, or a promise to a customer. Move the engines to cut costs. Hide the fix in software to avoid training. Trust a single sensor to keep the design simple. Leave it out of the manual to protect a sale. No single choice looked fatal on its own. Together, they killed 346 people. That's how empires fall. Not all at once. One reasonable decision at a time. I'm going to keep telling these stories, the decisions that destroyed the biggest names in the world. If that's something you want to see more of, subscribe. This is Downfall.